The problem with this country and with the world, really, a lot of it has to do with it's generational wealth. You've got an entire class of people that you have to borrow money from to do anything. And the only reason they have that money is they were born with it. And so if you want to create a company that's going to compete with some other billionaire's company, you have to get a billionaire to sign on. And this isn't just internet stuff. This is everything. This is everything. If you want to survive outside of just a mom and pop store somewhere, and look, even in those cases, you're going to have to get loans. If you want to have a business, every business is in debt. Almost every business is in debt. You have to borrow money from these people who didn't do anything at all to earn it. And in fact, when the system that's rigged against you and rigged for them has a catastrophic failure because they neglected to forecast an event, they just get bailed out. Like in 2008. So even when the system is designed to perpetuate their wealth for eternity and to keep you poor, even when it's designed to do that, if there's a little hiccup, and catastrophically all these people that were born millionaires and billionaires suddenly might have to go get a job at Starbucks, they take the money from everyone that works at Starbucks and give it to them so they don't have to go through that. And they tell you they're too big to fail, don't you know? Who would you borrow money from if they didn't have any money? You have to give them money. They have to be rich. If they're not rich, how could you possibly borrow the money that you need to borrow? That's what they said, and people fucking went along with it. That's what they said. They didn't even lie about it. They said, if we don't take your money and then give it to these guys, how are you supposed to borrow money from them? Don't you understand how this works? You have to borrow money from them so that you pay interest to them forever. There's not going to be anyone that can charge you interest if we don't give them your money. And when that happened and that worked and no one complained, no one revolted, I guess that you could say Occupy Wall Street to some extent, which they seem to not be very effective now, did they? They said, wow, that actually fucking worked. What Trump just did was like that times a million. Maybe mathematically that might work out, actually. That times a million. Once they understood that the public wasn't going to revolt when they had too big to fail with the banks. Because the banks, it's easier to have like these nameless, faceless people, right? You can always blame it on this entity, right? Like, so if you are angry, you're gonna level that anger against just like, Goldman Sachs or, whatever. There's just this big entity. It'll just be this boogeyman entity. But look, no one complained enough to really where it mattered at all. So they decided to just transfer that to people. And now we have too big to jail. Too big to jail. We can't possibly, even though we have John Brennan, or it's not John Brennan, what's the other guy? Clapper. We have James Clapper on video. On video. You can watch it right now. You can go to YouTube and find it. And on video, lying to Congress under oath, saying that, no, they're not spying on Americans. Under oath, which is supposed to mean something. And he says, we're not spying on Americans. And then what do we find out? That they were spying on Americans. We find out that he lied on national television under oath. And what happens to him? Well, he's got a job, I think, at MSNBC or CNN or one of these, right? Turns out lying under oath to Congress, if you're too big to jail, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Now, this time around, I think people were getting a little fed up. And that's what Trump was for. But it turns out, Trump also doesn't seem to have a problem with lying to everyone on national television. So when people were up in arms about Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, and the Clinton Global Initiative, and the The amount of corruption is so vast. And the information... Look, a 12-year-old with internet access and an interest in law could build a case against these fucking people. Okay? This is not something that would have taken a long time. And Trump, what did he say? I'm gonna get a special prosecutor to look into your little situation, because you'd be in jail. If I was in charge, there'd be no more of this too big to jail stuff. And I'm an outsider. You can trust me. I'm an outsider. I'm not one of these politicians. I'm not part of the ruling class, even though I'm a billionaire. I am not part of the ruling class, even though I'm having dinner with Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein and all these horrible people that you want me to put in jail. I know them all personally. I am not part of the ruling class, so elect me, put me in there, and we're going to turn this shit around. See, it's not just a few things that are empire-ending situations. It's like a bunch of stuff happening at once. And we knew it, and he said all the right things, thanks to, probably because of Cambridge Analytica looking at your Facebook posts and seeing what you were pissed off about. He might have known, look, here's this data I've got here. It turns out people are tired of too big to fail, too big to jail. They're tired of the immigration just being completely out of hand. They're tired of, the demographic change. They're tired of this shitting on the white American people. They're tired of this fake way in which politicians recite their lines on national television. I'm gonna promise to address all of these things, and I'm gonna be entertaining while doing it. But as it turns out, he's one of them. I think Biden is going to declare martial law and go on a rampage for white supremacy. I don't think that necessarily. Look, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned about these indictments, the sealed indictments that there are so many of. I'm a little concerned about that. But I'm not look, I'm not hiding in the desert yet, Also, martial law is like a big thing. It's such a big, like they haven't had the time to, like that bill that we talked about where they want to filter out all the so-called insurrectionists, the white nationalists, or whatever. They want to filter all those people out of the law enforcement and out of the military. I think they need to do that first. Because it's such a big country and there's just so many fucking people so spread out. To try to just do some... See, that's why I knew Q was fake, all right? Because Q couldn't do what he was saying he was going to do either. It'd be such a big operation, and there'd be so many moving pieces, and so many people that, at least as of right now, that wouldn't like what they're doing, and so there'd be some problems with that. I don't think it's just going to be one day... Look, I'll tell you what. Get nervous if one day the internet's just not working, but I don't think it's just going to be one day the internet's not working and then there's a knock at your door, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think there's going to be, and plus they also have to get rid of the guns. So I think that you're going to see first, you'll see the red flag stuff because they got to do that first. Because it's already, even without the guns, it's like this big thing that you'd have to do to round up all the people that are going to oppose you. But look, guess what? Communists always do that. Communists always do that. Every time. Every time. They do round up the people that are incompatible with their little fucking fantasy. They do it every time. And they kill a lot of people every time. So it's not crazy. It's not a crazy thing to be concerned about. Because they do it every time. In fact, when you think about how to interact with what's going to be happening in the future here, you need to have that in your mind. We know where this goes. Because it always goes that way. Always, without exception, every fucking time, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dead people. Every fucking time. And we are following, we're checking those boxes.
Villain, gangster, mafiotic, necrotic, the Black Frank July. colada, a gangster judge, therefore unprosecutable. The blackish, menial, negroidic in appearance and demeanor, felon, vicious, parroting puppet, ex-district attorney Nassau County, and watch my Frankenstein eyesight television playback of this felonious, lowly, sodomistic display by the felon, sodomist Judge William Sullivan and his lowly felon slut wife during my trial in Nassau County.